You know, this is one of those movies that's tough because it's really bad, but it's also really bad in such a way that you think something else might have gone wrong and you don't want to be a dick about it. You know, like you go to an art show and you see some really shitty painting, you go, my God, that's the shittiest painting I've ever seen. Who the fuck would paint that? And then show it to people. But then somebody goes, well, actually, our son is the artist. He mostly paints in therapy. We find it helps. He's a little slow since the accident and the cancer. So, yeah, Robin Hood. So bad, you almost assume you should feel sorry for somebody. Robin Hood is one of the worst movies I've watched this year, and before you go digging, most of the worst are the stuff I didn't end up having to review anywhere. Did you know they remade Puppet Master? It was awful, and it's easily the stupidest thing I've seen all year by a country mile, but a dilemma that comes up fairly often in my line of work. It's so bad and so stupid, I honestly can't say I didn't have a goddamn blast when I was watching it. It absolutely sucks. It's hilariously incompetent, wrong-headed film on almost every level, save that Otto Bathurst can apparently direct the shit out of an action scene, even if you don't necessarily give a shit who's supposed to be fighting who. Yeah, guys, I know he does Peaky Blinders. Don't even bother. I don't really know what Peaky Blinders is. I'm sorry, there's only 24 hours in a day. I make several shows a week. I write even more scripts than that a week. I don't get to watch a lot of new TV. I'm glad you enjoy it, though. I honestly don't know. You know, sorry. We all kind of still have this coming, I realize. Nobody cared the last time they did a Robin Hood movie, and that was Russell Crowe and Ridley Scott getting back together. They definitely weren't going to care about a slightly over-budget BBC special, ostensibly featuring Taron Egerton fitting in one more action movie part before that Elton John movie. But I don't think anyone was expecting something that would end up so memorably botched, the kind of bad movie people end up talking about for years afterwards. It fails because somebody thought they had a big idea, and nobody told them it was a terrible idea until it was too late. Now, the big idea in question here is, what if the legend of Robin Hood, already one of the most commonly applied allegories for classes of economic inequality, was even more head-slappingly obvious about said allegory, kicked up for a millennial audience not only with sexy young stars, strategically diverse casting, and a mandate to rework the characters and setting to be more like a 21st century superhero story than 21st century superhero stories are already like Robin Hood stories in the first place, which is a lot. Ow, my brain, my poor brain. With familiar plot elements, characters, and themes reframed around specific, blunt force, impossible to miss metaphorical references to present-day political figures, social controversies, scandals, conspiracy theories, newsworthy events, etc. Like, remember that one part in Time Bandits where they meet the real Robin Hood and he's talking about redistributing wealth like a modern-day Marxist, socialist, whatever you like, and it's meant to be funny there because that only vaguely aligns with the Rob from the Rich Robin Hood thing in the first place? Well, they do the same thing here, but it's meant to be taken 100% serious and really make you think, man. And the movie seems to have no idea how stupid this all is, going whole hog on the present-day classism allegory so unapologetically, it feels like the first thing some preteen creative writing student came up with after learning that using famous stories as metaphors for modern issues was a thing you were allowed to do. You can almost feel the tragically unself-conscious joy surging through the filmmakers as they land each new reference point. Robin Hood, more like Robin Hoodie, the proto-merry men managing to look like medieval Antifa facing down royal guards, inexplicably wielding wrought iron SWAT team riot shields, Nottingham miners looking like impoverished Virginia miners, bows and crossbows being wielded, edited, and goosed up with sound effects to come off more like machine guns, and as an unquestioned centerpiece of this glorious idiocy, an extended crusade sequence shot, edited, scored, and color graded with unmistakable echoes of our universal film, TV, and video game visual coding for the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, featuring infantry squads of archers conducting modern-day style house-to-house urban warfare sweeps with longbows and arrows cocked like rifles, and then scattering amid a crossbow attack that's edited and foleyed to look and sound like a machine gun turret siege, ending in a missile strike, aka catapult bombardment, and a postscript with stuff to say about Abu Ghraib and Blackwater. You will not see a stretch of film concurrently more technically sound, yet astonishingly idiotic in theaters this year. I'm impressed that they pulled it off, and I'm in awe that nobody tried to stop them. Now look guys, here's the thing. Apart from the miscasting, cheesy dialogue, and Ben Mendelsohn auditioning to be the new Jeremy Irons wants too much money guy, there's nothing that says blatant metaphor is inherently bad. But Robin Hood has no coherent sense of allegorical narrative underneath all these tacky modern references, so it's just a bunch of blunt symbolism where one piece doesn't connect to another in any meaningful way. In fact, the mixed metaphors clash so badly, it comes off as unintentional parody. Going strictly in terms of allegorical reference point, the new Robin Hood legend is the story of how Robin of Locksley invents Antifa by organizing West Virginia coal miners against a conspiracy by the IRS and the World Bank because he's angry that his house was foreclosed on after being drafted to fight in the Iraq War. Yes, I did say drafted. They don't even bother to keep their modern allegories to actual modernity and just randomly throw in some Vietnam there because it moves the plot along. Oh, and in case you thought movie executives had stopped telling filmmakers to turn everything into Christopher Nolan Batman movies, well, spoiler warning. Okay, so the big new angle here is that nobody knows Robin of Locksley is the Hood, so he does the Bruce Wayne I'm a dumb rich guy thing to gather intel because instead of taxes because monarchy, now there's a conspiracy storyline where the Sheriff of Nottingham is gouging the people so he and an evil cardinal can secretly fund the Arab side in the crusade to make the war go longer artificially so the British crown will falter and the Catholic Church can take over England. And since they thought Robin was dead for a while, Maid Marian is dating Will Scarlet, who's this rising star pragmatic centrist politician. Yep. Who thinks he can reason with the evil rich guys instead of doing hood stuff, and during the big final battle against the sheriff, he figures out Marion is still into Robin, because radicals are sexier, don't you know, and he accidentally gets burned up by a Molotov cocktail on exactly half his face. Really? And this makes him turn evil, so in the end, he becomes the new Sheriff of Nottingham who's going to hunt down Robin Hood for taking his girl, and I didn't make a word of that up. So yeah, Robin Hood sucks, but man, does it suck with conviction. It sucks the way Christian hair metal sucks, you know? Like, it's terrible, but it thinks what it's doing is both righteously good and going to get it into heaven, so why should it care what anyone else thinks? And I can kind of respect it for that, even while acknowledging that it fails on every conceivable level, including being bad enough to be so bad it's good. The PG-13 might have heard it there. Nothing this stupid should also be so free of pointless blood geysers or gratuitously bare breasts. 1 star, but I can't say I didn't laugh my ass off.